and this is a conversation I'm going to probably have with my kid, and I talked to Eddie Flemke for a while this week about racing, and it was really cool because we talked probably for about a good 35 minutes. I've never met the guy.
Really?
Never met him. We just
he's a super nice guy.
had to ask him a question, and it turned into a 35-minute conversation.
That sounds about right with him.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I kept trying to let him go because I had customers in the showroom, people waiting for me. But it's Eddie Flemke.
Right.
And he just keeps talking to me. And we talked about race car drivers.
Yeah.
And a realistic goal. And we had a really, really great conversation about, when I was racing back in the day, I remember a few times I probably won with a 5th place car.
Yep.
Right? That's a win.
Right.
If you finish 3rd with a 7th place car, that's a win. If you finish 10th with a 6th place car,
that's bad.
That's a loss.
Right.
Right? So as a race car driver, and you always have to be better than what your car is, if that makes sense.
Right.
Reaching high. And this is what me and Eddie had talked about. It was a great conversation, and so it's easy for me to relate because I have Emma. And if we finish 3rd one night or 5th, but we only had a 7th place car, it's a great night for us. We got to keep working.
Right. So when you say 7th place car, like how do you sort of feel out like, okay, this is a good car, this is a bad car, especially if like you're putting someone new in the car? Well, like how do you know like if the car gets worse? Was that last guy just really good?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that true answer. I always could tell in the seat of my pants. I could almost tell during warm-up laps.
Right.
I know that sounds weird. I'm just scuffing tires, and I'm like, I think the car's going to be a little tight.
It's kind of like a subtle thing. Like you sort of just feel it. Like you eye test it. Yeah.
You can feel it. You can feel when you turn the wheel how it grinds on the right front. If I turn the wheel hard left, I could feel if it's standing up on the edge of the tire more, if it's using more of the tire.
Right.
I know that sounds crazy, but I used to be able to feel that stuff.
I believe it.
So, and I could always tell, one of the biggest things that I liked when I was running good in my SKs was I had a crew and a crew chief. So you could sail it down into turn 1 and you're not knowing what's going to happen. So it just happens and you deal with it when you get there.
Right.
Right. And you go into turn 3, like, shit, I'm not going to do what I just did in turn 1.
Right.
So.
See, that's one of those things. I mean, my only experience with racing is iRacing, right? And you got the force feedback.
Do you
and everything.
feel that when you're iRacing?
No, that's what I was going to say. You don't have that advantage. You basically just look at the numbers and go, well, am I faster than other people or am I not? There's you can't really feel how the car
but if you go to the
racetrack.
corner and the thing pushes up and hit the wall, you're like, I'm not doing that again the next corner.
Yeah,
or
right.
I have to do
but you
got to
see it. I mean, you're describing more of like a feeling, like you said, seat of your pants. I mean, I don't feel like the rumble or any grating on the racetrack.
Yeah.
It's basically like I got the wheel, but that's different than the whole car being around me. You don't feel it the same way. Yeah,
right. So anyways, you could always tell, I can tell when I was racing if I had a good car. And so those nights I'm super aggressive. And remember when Mason was here and he's like, I get out front and I look in my mirror.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing that could ever happen.
Oh, you don't like mirror driving?
It's so hard to do. And so when I won a lot of my SK races, everybody's like, you're mirror driving. I never looked in the mirror once.
Right.
You know what I used to do? And I've told this story many times. When you have a guy like Teddy Christopher behind you, right?
Yep.
And Keith Rocco, probably 2 of the best SK drivers ever.
Yeah, those aren't the guys you want to see
ever.
You.
Right?
100%.
So could you imagine you got 17 laps to go, Teddy's banging on your rear bumper, and Keith's looking outside. Right? You want to talk about...
Well, you got to be mirror driving then, right?
No, you want to talk about white knuckle racing? If you screw up one time, you're done.
Right.
You're done. And everybody works all week to go win. Right? I don't want to lose either. I don't care who they are. So what I used to do is you have to almost outsmart them. That's just how I used to think. Teddy's going to be very aggressive. And Keith is going to be very aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
So what I used to do... I call it dangle the meat out the window, right? It's like you're in a zoo with a bunch of freaking tigers.
Okay.
They hang the steak out there. One of them's going to get it.
Right.
Once we're side by side, nobody could pass me.
Oh.
right? So
Oh, yeah.
I dangle the steak
Yep.
out there. Boom, there goes Rocco. He's going for it right away.
Right.
I'd slow down just a little bit just so he would go get the steak. Then I would clear him on accident. My spotter would be all clear, and Teddy's on my bumper. I'm
Yeah.
like, shit.
See, okay, so you're saying like you basically promote getting them on like the out, like let's say you're running the inside, you get them on the outside, and now both lines are full, but you know you're inside, you're a little faster down
I
there.
know
Right.
that I can't leave the white line.
Right. Now, how long does that work for though? Because I feel
I-
like you try to do that for 10, 15 laps, it's gonna start. People are gonna start getting hit
No, I've done it.
successfully,
15 laps.
dude.
I mean,
just-
I'm talking edgier seat
right.
racing. And I always knew that I had to set up the exit of the corner great because
Right.
you know why? This is how you have to think. Me and my brother were like this. You always had to cross the line before him, because if a yellow comes out and he beats you to the
Yeah,
line,
they're going back to the last lap.
you're second.
Right.
You're not going to beat him on the outside.
Yep.
So you always have to, whatever you do, you got to beat him to the line. I don't care how you enter the corner, and make sure you get a hell of a run off. So you always cross the start-finish line ahead of him. Always.
Now, what do you consider mirror driving, right? Like, because you want to take you have to still know where they are, especially if you're in a division where there's no spotter. But, I mean, at what point do you consider it to be, like, ridiculous mirror driving?
Well, I mean, if you're literally mirroring their line like you see in
Because
Cup.
that's what I would want to do.
Yeah, but you know when you see the super speedway racing in
Yeah,
Cup,
they do the dragon. They weave down and you want to block
they'll,
the guy
they'll
always.
be in the mirror all the way down to the white
Right.
line down the it's almost ridiculous.
Right.
Like, some people may say I used to do that, but I never did. Only thing that I ever did was
Debatable.
Yeah, but I would stay on the white line. I don't have to move off the white line. It's my real estate, right? I don't care if
Right.
you're faster. That means I have to move.
Yeah.
I'm not moving.
Yeah, I guess it does get different when you get to Cup because the arrow blocking is a huge
The
thing.
arrow blocking,
Yeah, there's not really arrow blocking at Waterford. you know?
right.